Welcome back. We've just been watching the delivery of the 2021 budget by the Finance Minister Tito Mboweni, speaking among other things about the billions allocated to fund South Africa's vaccine rollout program. An amount of 10 billion rand expected to be spent over 2 years. We'll bring you detail on that because for that to happen, we need to pay taxes or raise revenue for government. And that's where our reporter Lindsay Dentlinger, who's at Parliament, comes in. Because, Lindsay, you have with you the SARS Commissioner.
Well, I just lost him for a moment, but I do have the IFP's Zamo Buthelezi, so we'll start with him first. Mr. Buthelezi, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Your party's views on the budget this afternoon?
As the IFP, we believe that the Minister's speech was to some extent very measured. It's got both good things that we appreciate and also things that are cause for concern. For example, the 11 billion that will be allocated for youth employment, we appreciate that. The 4 billion that will go to local economy and the zero increase in taxes, we appreciate that as the IFP. But of a great concern is the ever-increasing state government debt, which is now going to over 5 trillion, and also the wage bill that needs to be addressed. We are very much worried as the IFP. And also we're surprised that the Minister chose not to say anything about state-owned entities, because we know for a fact that there is money that will be allocated to them, but he shied away from that, which is something that we thought he will actually tell the public that they are continuing to bail this SOEs out of, which is a very wrong thing, and we don't support that.
Mr. Buthelezi, money for social grants much reduced to what we've seen in previous years in terms of percentage increases. Your party's view on that? I
don't even think that the Minister was supposed to mention that here as if there is increase. What is 10 rands increase? That is nothing. You can't even buy bread. I think that was just good for him in the podium to sound like he is actually affected some increase. But in actual fact, there is no increases that has been made to social grants and the likes.
No increases in personal taxes. That should be something your party welcomes?
We welcome that very much. As I said, that we even expected that because we can't put so much burden on people at this point in our. So we appreciate that. But also the increase in fuel also will actually override the zero increase in taxes, because people will have to pay more for everything they go to buy in towns and all that.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Buthelezi. I have Sheikh Imam from the NFP. Mr. Imam, just very briefly, how do you interpret what the Minister had to table this afternoon?
Well, I think let me start off by welcoming the remarks by the Minister. We think it's quite a balanced budget. However, we have some concerns that are raised. First of all, is the public service wage bill has gone up to 650 billion rand, and the Minister does not give any indication as to how we're going to deal with this. We have previously highlighted the challenge he's going to face with labour unions and things, and there's very little being done in terms of that. He's highlighted the issue of procurement, where you don't get value for money, losing hundreds of billions of rand. So we're happy that he knows about these things and he wants to address it. We welcome the issue of rural development, particularly with small business, with the monies that is being set aside for rural development. Actually, we think that it will go a long way. We have a concern with the increase in fuel levy, because the increase in fuel levy is going to impact on the poorest of the poor, while we welcome the relief that has been given to the middle and lower income in terms of the tax relief. But remember, that is going to fall away if you look at the high cost of the fuel that is actually put in. So on a whole, the National Freedom Party is reasonably happy with what has happened. I think what is important now is to do more with less and be able to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's Mr. Sheikh Imam from the NFP. Quickly, Mr. Willie Madisha from COPE. Mr. Madisha, your summary of the budget this afternoon?
Look, I must say that we're disappointed, because that which we heard today is a repetition of that which he goes on to say almost each and every year. But then we had hoped that we'll come here and say this is what we have achieved after we had given this kind of speech in the past financial year. That is the first thing. But secondly, the issue of the taxes affects even those people who are not working, those people who are poor. Because if you say that, for example, fuel goes up, they get affected as well, although they're not working. That's a major problem. Now, the people, yes, who are supposed to pay more are in the corporate sector. But then, in our own opinion, they will be paying less. Now, that's a problem. But what COPE wishes to emphasize is that a lot of money, billions, are paid to the bureaucrats in the state, and that money must be reduced so that jobs are created. Now, the levels of unemployment are far beyond 32%. And if he then, minister, like president, rises to say, we have gained, we are moving forward, that is not correct. And these are things that must be corrected.
Thank you very much, Mr. William Adisha. Just lastly, I have here Mr. Brett Heron from the Good Party. Brett, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Your views on this afternoon's budget?
I think it was a budget of hope and despair. There were some elements of hope in the budget, and there were some elements that are disappointing. If we look at the allocation of funding towards the COVID-19 vaccine program, I was happy to hear there was a commitment, 10 billion rand over 2 years. I was expecting it to be higher, maybe closer to 20 billion rand. And so whether it's sufficient to vaccinate 67% of the adult population remains to be seen. That depends on the dosage. The elements that are despair, the extension of the social grant, the temporary social grant that was put in place to alleviate financial hardship that arises out of the COVID-19 lockdowns and pandemic. That's been extended to the end of April. That's not a real extension. I was hoping for a much longer extension while the ministry was looking at introducing a basic income grant. We cannot expect millions of South Africans to live day to day, month to month, without any access to income. So I was disappointing that the social relief grant has been extended by only 6 weeks, really.
Thank you very much. Brett Heron from the Good Party. Thembekile, I've unfortunately lost the SARS Commissioner, but we will try again. So back to you for now, and I'll get back to you as soon as I've managed to nab him again.